Hello and welcome back to Take from Caesar, my YouTube channel. My name is David Myrland. Nothing you'll hear me say is intended as legal advice. Anything that sounds like that to you, just consider it something somebody else might do on a planet far, far away where the law matters. It doesn't matter here. I prove it on a daily basis. Believe it. Now, the anti-tax movement, number 2, a new moron. I think the last one you want to call it the cult. The anti-tax movement cult. The tax honesty movement. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all moronic. It's lonely at the top, and it might have been enough to simply caution you about this person, but they had a comment about me. Not about me, but to me. An instruction to me to keep learning. Keep learning and see my video. You don't know anything, and we're going to prove it, which makes you dangerous. You're recommending your video. You haven't done any work yet. This new moron. It's easy to see. It slaps me in the face. Here's how to look for it, folks. Now, this is not... This is the guy at work studying tax law. It's not Pete Hendrickson. It's not David Champion. It's not your run-of-the-mill tax movement, patriot movement, tax honesty movement moron. It's this guy. New on the scene. His video is a year old. And here he is researching tax law. Bringing home the bacon. I didn't know elephants ate bacon, but he's locked in his search for it. So don't bother him. But more importantly, don't bother with him. Doesn't know a thing. This is the address of his YouTube video that he pitches to me, called The Income Tax Citation. Words you need to understand. You don't believe me? Look at it right here. The Income Tax Citation. Words you need to understand. I've been understanding for decades. It gets you nowhere to understand. Of course, those are typos, but his video's a year old and he hasn't spotted them yet. It's in his video. So, go for it, folks. You want to follow somebody or learn from somebody. You want to study somebody that is that asleep at the wheel. Citation. And he doesn't even spot it. So he doesn't read case law. Because if you read case law, you parse words very, much more effectively than that. So anyway, this is the address of his YouTube channel. It's called The Income Tax Situation. He has one video, 8 minutes, 6 seconds long, and he promises that this is just one video. There's going to be a whole bunch more about how to understand terms. Year old, it's his only video, so he didn't follow. Oh, also, he's anonymous, so I'm going to call him the new moron or something, because he doesn't say his name. He's hiding due to his ignorance of the law. And listen to what he says. I just got my employer's attention. I accused them of violating Section 83 of the tax code. Okay, so he doesn't know how to cite a statute. You have to put parentheses around the A in 83A. And he does it again. Okay, yeah, does it again right here. So he doesn't cite law in what he does, or he would know how to cite law. Whereas I wrote 3 people to the Supreme Court in 2018. I wrote 5 people to the Supreme Court by the October term of 1998. I wrote my treatise in early 1994. And since 2006, that treatise, which includes an argument about Section 83, it's prevented more than a dozen indictments, maybe more than 15 indictments of people that were identically situated to people I'd seen go to prison in the past. And the only difference between the people that were not indicted and the people that were indicted, the people that were not indicted pleaded Section 83. I got my employer's attention. So what? They're just employers. What do they know about tax law? And what are they going to do when they get to court? You have no courts, so it doesn't matter whose attention you get. So this person's never been to court. In the video, we see, okay, the citation. It's about wages. He's going to explain what wages are. It has a disclaimer. Then he goes right into IRS publications. I got over IRS publications in 1994. I've read cases that say they have no force of law. And so, unless you're going to argue that you were misled by the IRS, its publications are meaningless. They don't figure in. And so he spends all this time, the first minute, IRS publication, wages and other compensation, right out of the publication. Who cares? Go to publication 17. They say your services are your cost. In Black's Law Dictionary, what is give? Give is a verb, but it happens to... Okay, and I'm going to get into this when we get into the video, so let's just skip it for now. What is give? And he goes to the Law Dictionary. So he's still not in the tax code. Now he's in the tax code, and he's in Chapter 24, definition of wages. Means all remuneration. Okay, so what? Why are you in Chapter 1, or Chapter 24? Then he goes to the International Dictionary of the English Language, Webster's. Shouldn't you be going to Oxford's? Yeah, you should be. And then he spends the rest of the video in the English Dictionary. What are you doing? You have to read case law to understand these terms. So what do you think? Is your paycheck from your employer accurate? What do you mean, accurate? What the hell does accurate mean? Man, people, please be careful. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. More to come. Enjoy. Well, it's been a year. Then he goes on to a spiel by Ron Paul. What's that got to do with tax law? Nothing. Thank you. Exactly. Nothing. I got my employer's attention. I accused them of violating Section 83 by failing to apply the time that I paid under those terms. You paid labor. Labor is property. You gave 40 hours of it per week. You sold it to your employer. You don't pay your time. You pay your labor. They logged my time and gave it value under the Employment Acceptance Agreement. That means your employment contract, and discharged the debt they owed me when they paid me for that. They didn't discharge the debt. They paid the debt. Payment of a debt discharges it. Okay? I told them I made no election under 83B. Well, that only applies to restricted property. Restricted property? Yeah. Hey, thanks for signing on as claims manager for this insurance group. You get $50,000 a year in salary, and as a signing bonus, you get $25,000 worth of company stock, but you can't have it until you've been with the company for 3 years. An incentive to stay on the job. It's restricted. You can't have it for 3 years. Under 83B, you can elect to have it taxed this year, as if you received it at its present value. Or you can elect to have it taxed once you finally receive it. And this is for people who think it might go up in value. Let me pay taxes on it right now, because it's going to be worth more later and I'd owe more in taxes. See how that is? Note, under the IRC terms, which I've never heard before, Internal Revenue Code terms, should say under the language of the law, so he doesn't read tax law. Under IRC terms, everything over the base pay for time is gain. Example, it should be I period E period. Income, compensation, employment benefit. Everything over the base pay for time is gain. What he meant to say was everything over the fair market value of labor is gain. But then he goes on to list income and compensation. Not all compensation. Section 83 says only the excess over the amount paid is gross income. And employment benefit. I'm going to stick a foot in that. And again, I could have just cautioned you about this guy. But then when he tells me to keep learning, meaning he didn't watch any of my videos, except the one about the judiciary, the toilet number 1. For example, if the employer pays you for a vacation or sick day, that is your gain because you paid nothing for it. Their payment was truly compensation, meaning their payment is profit. He puts compensation in the category of profit. How did Section 83 operate in your conclusion? My whole paycheck is profit. Oh, got you again. So he's not even using terms from the legal profession, from case law. Pay, obligation, discharge. Whatever. Compensation, extra or gain. Wrong. How did Section 83 operate in your conclusion? All of my compensation is gain or gross income. He doesn't even use the word gross income right here. And he forgets it's I period E period. Extra. So the guy's on Mars with a dunce cap. Remuneration adds to compensation the idea of reward, gratuity, tips. Wages means remuneration and includes tips. Wrong. Jump into this one. Adds to compensation. No, it doesn't. Remuneration is the compensation. Period. It doesn't add to compensation. It is the compensation. Reward, gratuity, tips. He's on Mars. What does that got to do with anything? Remuneration is all of it, but it's not reward. It's the purchase of your personal property called your labor. Wages means remuneration and includes tips. No, it doesn't. Tips are separate. Tips is a payment by the customer that you please to a degree that makes them pay you for your haste. TIP. This is something you don't know, Junior. To ensure promptness. It's one thing to pay for that drink. It's altogether another thing to compensate the promptness, the extra effort they made to make sure it wasn't just service. It was fast service. See how that works? To ensure promptness. Tips are payments for promptness. It's a contract between you and the customer. And they're paying you under that agreement. I agree, I will get you your drinks quickly. And you get tips. Hopefully, if you don't get them their drink or their meal quickly, you don't get tipped. It weeds out the inefficient and ineffective staff of an eating establishment or drinking establishment. So the person doesn't even understand. See, wages is from your employer. Tips are from your customer. They're two different contracts. Reimbursement, repayment of expenses. Right. But that has nothing to do with me working for an employer or as a self-employed individual charging something for my labor. I reimburse myself from the amount received, and I deduct expenses under Section 212. In the case of an individual, there shall be allowed as deduction all ordinary and necessary expenses paid or incurred in the production or collection of income. Give, gratuity, wrong. A gratuity is a tip. It pays for promptness. It's not a gift. A gift is a contract. Fletcher versus Peck and Trustees of Dartmouth College versus Woodward. two ancient Supreme Court decisions that are the benchmark for defining what a gift is. A gift is a contract. And so, using the word give, he doesn't even understand that a gift is a contract. Give is the verb. How can a verb be a gratuity? How can a verb be a noun? Yes, give is a legal word. You don't know what you're talking about, Junior. So you're stuck in IRS publications which don't have the force of law. You don't read case law. Didn't use the word gross income, I think, in this whole page. And then tells me, keep learning and see my video. Your video made me vomit. Because a lot of good people might see that. He's only got, what has he got? 2 subscribers? His video's been there a year. He hasn't posted another one. He can't cite a law properly. The A gets parentheses around it. So, he doesn't use the term gross income. Under the IRC terms, you mean in the language of the law? Or are you looking at publications? So he's taking instruction from publications. He doesn't speak in legalese. And he's all over the map regarding whether or not all compensation is income. Wow. It's something else, folks. And then he tells me, keep learning. After seeing one video, I got an idea, moron. Go down to my earliest uploaded videos, take my tutorial, it's 2.5 hours long, about tax code section 83, and tell me I'm supposed to learn from you. Watch Key to the Code. There's another video. It's called Just Video Number 7, IRS Tax Whistleblower, Tax Code from the Ground Up. And you tell me you got something to teach me. There's nobody that's close. I've done more work. I've done a review of Pete Hendrickson's book. Don't bother. I watched one of David Champion's videos, and he was so far off track, I can't afford his book if he sold it to me for a penny. Why would I buy something from somebody that's a moron? And this is just another moron. Can't even cite the law, meaning he doesn't read case law, or he would know the A gets a parentheses. Period. Period. And doesn't use the word gross income. Gross misspellings right in his banner. The income tax citation. So, this is the new moron. And this is him studying law, bringing home the bacon, looking for that clue, that one clue that'll unlock the tax code for him. Please be careful, everybody. Please be careful. This guy was easy. And like I said, I could have just cautioned you about him, but then he says, keep learning and see my video. You asked for it, moron, and now you got it. My foot up yours. And other people agree.
It was all bullshit.
So my name is David Myrland. None of this is legal advice, except stay away from the anti-tax movement. Compare my work to anybody's, and you won't find another that can even stand in the same room with me. Period. So, enough said. Watch yourselves, folks. Don't go to prison. Please don't get leaned and levied. And expect more from your advocate than to indulge somebody that can't even cite the law. They don't speak in legal terms. They don't know the difference between compensation and income. Income is profit. What about the part of the compensation that's not profit? here's one part I missed here. For example, if your employer pays you for a vacation or sick day, that is your gain. Wrong. Was it in my employment contract? Yeah. Well, fair market value of my labor is my contract value. So everything I'm offered under contract is fair market value of my labor. Vacation pay, sick day, tips, all of it is compensation for my labor, fair market value, contract value. And Section 83 says the value of my labor doesn't go to gross income. It says only the excess over the amount paid. And the amount paid is defined as the value of any money or property paid. Any. So, don't bother me with it. Don't bother me with this guy. He thinks vacation pay is profit. No, it was within my employment contract. So it's within the fair market value. Why? Because an unrelated part, it's called an arm's length transaction. Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, page 109. Arm's length transaction. Set of a transaction negotiated between two unrelated parties acting in their own best interest under no compulsion to buy or sell. All relevant facts disclosed. There. So everything they agree to pay me for my labor is within the value of my labor. It's not gain. Dummy. So, really, folks, be careful. This person isn't even a novice yet. They've done no research, didn't bother to watch any of my videos. I accidentally run rings around people that know a million times more than this dude. So again, this is David Myrland cautioning you. Pay the IRS what the IRS says you owe. You don't want a relationship with a government that's nothing more than a horde of carjackers with pistols in prisons. It's worth it. But this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't have a clue. Refuses to get one. Instead, I should see his video. Yeah, sure. I'll be right there. This is David Myrland with Codebreaker on Take from Caesar. Be careful, folks. None of this is legal advice, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.